So here is something people don't know about what it feels like if you are a self-employed business owner trying to get a loan. It's not just the paperwork and it's not just the inconvenience. When the stakes are high enough, it is one of the most isolating and suffocating feeling you will ever sit with. And I know that from personal experience back in 2015. I've lived it. I had sold my house, the deal was done, and it was closed. I had already been given a move-out date, and everybody knew about it. So I already had a new place that I had figured out. It was a new build. We put the money on deposit for that house, and the house was built already, and they were just waiting for my loan to close, and I get the house position. And I loved it. I even loved the park around the corner. I even take my kids out there to the park in the evening whenever I did had a chance to spend some time with them in the evening, because I was also running a company at the time, and I was running around in the field every single day along with other stuff that was going on. So I was not really able to spend enough time bringing them to the park. But this is the neighborhood that I currently live in. We love the area, and kids were enjoying it. So we definitely were sure about living in this area, but this whole loan process got very complicated at the end. So I was already picturing what life was going to look like over here, where my daughters would be playing, where they will go to school, what the morning would feel like. So we put up a deposit and the loan process started. And then the questions started. The underwriter needed this document, the underwriter needed that document, and then an explanation for a deposit, then a letter about that expense. And then you need a clarification, then an account, then they need to understand that number. Every few days, another email, another request, another thing that they could not move forward without. And do you know what it feels like when you are a self-employed individual and you know your income doesn't look the way a W-2 looks? You know what it feels like to answer one question and then wait for that question to turn into 3 more questions? And do you know what it feels like to not know the answer to what you just made up and things just got worse? And that's not paperwork, that is psychological pressure, and it does not stop when you close your laptop for the day. And it also follows you back home. It also follows you when you are sitting at the dinner table, and is there when you wake up in the morning for 2 months. Because here's what made my situation more stressful in the loan process. I had already sold my old home. My days were numbered and everybody knew it. There was no going back. There was no option for me to stay in that house and to go back to the seller and negotiate a longer lease. So what's the plan if the loan process does not go through? Where do I go? Where do I take my kids? Where do I take my wife? And what do I tell my 2 little girls who are 2 and 3-year-old at the time? We have no idea that daddy is sitting here wondering if we just bought a house or we made a big mistake. So I would go to the park, the one next to the house we were trying to buy, and I would sit there and think, run the scenario, trying to figure out an angle I was missing, and ask myself the same question over and over. What if this does not approve on time? 2 months. And that is exactly how long I lived in that situation, in that state. I moved out of my old house, and 2 days later, the loan finally closed. But in between, everything I owned was in a U-Haul, in a storage unit. My family was in my in-laws' house, and I was at a park looking at the house through a fence, not knowing if I was going to close on mine. And this is what actually feels like, and nobody puts that into a brochure. And here's what I want you to really sit with, because this is the part that nobody talks about. When you are in this position, old house sold, 2 kids, wife stressed out, everything in the U-Haul, and clock is ticking, do you think you have any negotiation cards in your favor? Do you think you're going to push back on an interest rate change? Do you think you're going to question a origination fee, a higher origination fee? Or do you think you are going to walk away from a table just because the terms of this new loan that you've been trying to get for the last 2 months are not exactly what you wanted? You're not, and you cannot. And when everything is stacked against you and you need that loan to close, you take whatever they put in front of you. You sign it, and you're just grateful that you finally closed on the loan. And do you think the bank did not know this? They knew it. They knew it the whole time. They have always known this. And I have never, not once, seen a self-employed individual person walk away from a loan just because the terms did not feel favorable. Not once. Not when we are already in the position most of us are in when we apply. Not when the pressure is real and the clock is running and there is no backup plan set up on the table. And this is exactly what happens when you show up for a loan unprepared. Not just stress or not just time. Real money for every single loan for the rest of your investing life, unless you change the picture. So what caused it? What actually put me in that situation? Simple. I was doing everything myself and I had no idea what I did not know. I did my own books, I ran my own numbers, and I thought I was being a smart individual, writing off everything I could write off, running expenses through the business, and minimizing what went into the IRS. And in one sense, I was being smart, and my tax bill was low. My CPA was definitely not complaining. But here's what nobody taught me. When you minimize your income on your personal taxes as a self-employed individual, it hurts you when you're trying to borrow money. What story are you going to tell the bank every single time you file a return? When you expense everything, and I mean everything you can run through the business, you're doing 2 things exactly at the same time. You're reducing your tax bill, but you're also reducing your income that the bank is now going to use against you. Those are 2 separate things. They are the same numbers, and I had to chase that number as low as I could. And I won with the IRS, and I walked into a bank looking like I barely made anything. So this is the mistake. When you write off everything, you don't have anything to show for in income, and you take that same tax return to a bank to get a loan, They can see you made very little income. That's the trap I walked straight into because nobody showed me the roadmap. In my next video, I'm going to show you exactly what the bank's looking for, what is the right number to look at, and how you can structure your finances so you can stop fighting the system and start using it. Link's going to be in the bio. I'll see you guys in the next one.